Hello, hello. It's producer and sometimes editor Charlie with a little disclaimer here at the top of episode 2. Due to some unexplained technical issues, Caroline, for the most part, this episode sounds like she was recording inside of a rubbish bin. This issue should be fixed going forward, but just wanted to let you know if things sound a little off, that's why. Alright, hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to your mom's podcast, the only podcast that's worth walking out on a date with one of Degrassi's coolest girls. I'm Caroline.
And I'm Avis.
Today we'll be talking about Degrassi Season 1, Episodes 3 through 5. We start off with family politics. Roses are red. Toby fills Ash with rage. Back to school time. New year, new look, new page. This episode brings us to the start of the new school year. Ashley and Toby have just started living together and they are not adjusting well. Ashley's running for school president, unopposed, until Toby convinces JT to run a joke campaign to fuck with her. As expected, Ashley has no chill. She bribes JT to drop out and then Toby threatens to expose her, but decides not to. JT drops out, Ashley wins. She and Toby bond a bit, maybe? B-plot, Spinner hazes Emma and Manny. I think I covered everything, right?
Yeah.
As far as...
Mm-hmm. That's
all right, so...
pretty much what happens in the episode.
So let's dive a little deeper. Full disclosure, in preparing for these first couple of episodes and figuring out how we want to format the show, we ended up watching Family Politics several times, each of us.
It was so many times.
And it's a really boring episode.
Yeah.
But, we've also in, creating content, we've been able to look at it and see the value in it. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really like is, obviously it's much lower stakes than Mother-Child Reunion. Mother-Child Reunion really tells you who Degrassi is. It's like, hi, Degrassi. It goes there. And then, we get out of that creepy hotel room and we walk right into Family Politics where, sometimes it doesn't really go there. But right. As a girl who grew up with stepbrothers, one of whom was my age and in my grade, and who we moved in together either 7th or 8th grade. It's not as serious as almost getting abducted and probably murdered, but it was a real problem. It felt real to me at 14, and I like that Degrassi is taking time to focus on the smaller problems as well.
Right. It is definitely a smaller problem, but as will be highlighted, it doesn't make it a non-existent problem. This is relatable stuff. Hopefully not too many people can relate to almost being abducted on the internet, but statistically a bunch of people. Statistically a bunch of people.
I mean, raise your hand probably. If you were being stupid on the internet when you were 13.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, all the hands are up. It's okay. The internet was very new.
Yeah.
We were young. We had hormones. We made bad choices. Luckily, most of us didn't get kidnapped and murdered by some guy in Yellowknife.
And I feel like this episode is kind of a palette. I want to say a cleanser. I want to say cleanser, but then I feel like because we've watched this episode so many times, I know it kind of like the back of my hand, and I still needed to watch it because I was like, what is it about? What is going on in this episode? Right. But I feel like it does set some stuff up. So it's a good episode for that.
It does.
A couple things are established. That primarily that they want to develop Ashley and Spinner for some reason. Out of all the 8th graders, Paige is just the bitch, but she hasn't gotten quite the time to bitch yet. She's just being snarky and flashy in the background.
I feel like Spinner is still such a caricature in this episode, though. He's just hazing the grade 7s.
I think that it's good to see where he started, because they definitely take his character places, and it's good to see, because I feel like season 1 overall, they just kind of had to get a lot of groundwork out of the way. So they were like, let's get everybody in here, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do with everybody. Maybe, like, we're going to get the meat and potatoes, I guess. Like,
right.
more like we're getting towards the middle of the season, I guess. The next 3-pack will be more middly.
Mm-hmm. But I do, they are establishing dynamics. We're getting JT as a class clown. We're getting Spinner as kind of a douche.
Yes.
Right now he's definitely like on the trajectory to be like a lamer version of Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. And to be clear, that's already a lame version of Matthew McConaughey.
Oh my gosh, Matthew McConaughey is a whole different conversation.
Entirely. We get the Ashley Terry dynamic when Terry's like, oh, I think he's kind of funny about JT, and Ashley gives her that death look.
Mm-hmm.
And she very quickly like backtracks.
It's because Terry's like mature. She's so sweet, and she doesn't, I feel like Ashley has always had, like, even though she could be like a Paige, I've always seen her, especially, coming up, like they rival each other. They butt heads a lot because they both have type A personalities, but they just manifest differently. So like Ashley could have been, even though Paige has insecurity, she kind of doesn't let people go and ruin her good time. She's like, I'm still having fun, and you can't tell me about myself. Whereas Ashley's got those, just the insecurity eats it away. Like Toby knows what buttons to push to like get her to start scheming, and she would have won the race had she probably just chilled and like done what she was gonna do anyway. But she has to like recruit Jimmy and Spinner to do dumb shit for her and do all these things.
She has like Jimmy and Spinner bring JT to her in the music room like a couple of armed goons.
Mm-hmm.
They like ambush him.
They do. That's exactly. Yeah. Yes. They're her little mafia.
And where does a grade 8 get $80 from? Why does Ashley just always have however much cash she needs?
Well, I feel like the thing with her, right, like, because that definitely her amount of money, like the money that she has at her disposal comes up again in the next
next 3-pack.
In the next 3-pack. I feel like it's just, she's probably that girl that just had a piggy bank and never brook it, which was
now she's a grade 8 and she's a woman of the world and she needs to be able to fund her lavish. Yeah, I get it. Another thing that I loved was when Jimmy comes up on Liberty and Ashley talking, and Liberty's all excited about the campaigns and being president and vice president, and Liberty walks off and Jimmy's like, what was that about? All incredulous, like, is this some like, how dare a grade 7 talk to my cool grade 8 girlfriend?
Yeah, it's like, for me, I was hearing the whole High School Musical, the stick to the status quo song. It's like, because I feel like that is like, oh, that's not how it's done. A 7th grader's never won before. And like, oh, I'm not going to do it like I did it last year. And all of these like allusions to, oh, we've been here before and we know we're going to set the rules. And then the 7th graders come along and they start doing things differently, like Emma and JT. I don't know, like it's supposed to be like avant-garde, I think.
It's so ridiculous. And I love, hold on, I have to pull up my notes, because what does JT's campaign poster say? Unknown, unremarkable, underachieving.
I feel like that's
at this point would like be a winning presidential campaign in this country.
First of all, I drew so many real life parallels, because it was all fanaticism and like personality driven and no platform whatsoever. And the whole like, if I win this, I might actually have to do some work. Like, I love the line delivery because it's like, I feel like it's so relevant. And I love just the entire like, Toby telling him, what if I win? He's like, oh, you won't have a chance. Like, like, okay, but when you say that in media, the opposite either ends up happening or almost happens, and you've got to prevent it actively.
So it really sets the tone for a lot of who these characters are. We really see the Toby JT dynamic.
Yes.
Although honestly, also at the same time, I feel like we see an inverse of the Toby JT dynamic.
It doesn't usually happen this way going forward. JT's this is like the one with the the dumbass idea or the outlandish idea and then Toby's roped into it. And he's like, oh man, I think that they kind of, for some reason, wanted to abandon the fact that Toby's smart, unless it's the fact that he's a computer person. And by a certain point, you kind of forget that he started out the show having one of the lead storylines and being in the forefront. You forget that because they hide him. He's kind of black holed. Yeah, like controversial take, but it's kind of like not because he's still there. Right, like there's no usage of the character beyond a certain point, and for Hazel, there's just like barely any back, and it's like it sucks to be Hazel, especially because not to go too much into her, but she's there so much, but she gets nothing. She gets an episode, literally just there. It's like she's a prop. Where have we seen that concept before? So it's like I feel like Toby, they were building him up to be more, and then they just fucked him over. A
really small thing that happens, but that I thought was kind of cute, was that Manny sees Ashley in the hall. Toby points her out, and Manny says that she thinks she's pretty.
Yeah.
And just given, spoiler alert, what's to come.
Given their future shared intertwined history, it is very funny.
And another thing that I would like to touch on is Ashley put her hair in rollers for the election.
And the evidence of that is kind of not seen the next day.
Yeah, she's just got the same horrible poofy hair she usually has.
I wonder if she thinks that her hair is flat, so she's using the curlers as for volume.
Yeah.
But her hair also looks heavy, so I don't...
Whatever
that's a bold choice.
It's a bold choice.
Yeah.
Another thing in this episode is fuck Miss Kwan. She has that whole thing with Spinner on the first day of school where she's like, Gavin Reginald Mason. First of all, it's Gavin Spinner Mason. Get it right. But she's like, do I have to give you another, what was it, 14 detentions? And
embarrassing that young man.
Honestly, who for the year? But no, yeah, Miss Kwan is really disappointing in this episode. And from there, I think, can we move on to the couple of short segments and leave this terribly boring episode in the past where it belongs?
Yeah, I think that the only other thing that I guess I'll point out is that I did really like is the heart-to-heart at the end, because neither of them want to relinquish control, but we've got to have the heart-to-heart. It reminds me of the Danny Tanner scene in Full House where they play the music and he's got to get down and cross his leg over his knee and be like, well, what did you learn today? And but it's very, I feel like they're at their best. It's a resolution, and I think that you still see their sibling relationship definitely comes into play. So it's a good.
Yeah. No. Well, I think I mentioned in the first episode that what brought me back to Degrassi as an adult was that for whatever reason I felt compelled to watch it when I was grieving after my best friend died. And I think looking back, a big part of it, the familiarity was nice, but a big part of it was that I found something really comforting in these problems getting wrapped up in an episode, maybe two, probably because this was a problem that we'd been dealing with for a few years and it didn't get wrapped up neatly. And there was something comforting about that. And yeah, I like the little heart to heart and the little, isn't the shot at the end, the two of them?
I think so. I think it's they're, not looking at each other, but they're in the same frame and they're just like merp. They're like, we're gonna leave it here. We're not gonna hug or anything.
Those credit screen like freeze frames did nobody any favors ever. And I love too when it's like like this one, like it's a low stakes episode, but there's still that like serious music underneath it.
Oh yeah, we're dealing with real hard hitting issues, so we have to have the dramatic resolution music. Like we've just done something good work in this 20-minute episode. But we do have a Spema sighting, I feel like, in this episode.
Yeah, so this is the first one, so we should explain what that is for the people who don't know. Major spoiler alert if you don't know. I actually myself didn't know until a couple of years ago. Our producer didn't know until last week.
Was spoiled.
Emma ends up getting married, and she ends up getting married to Spinner.
She's Mrs. Mason.
It's a very controversial thing within the fandom. A lot of people absolutely hate it, think it doesn't make sense, all of that. I don't think it's the worst Degrassi pairing. I think it honestly kind of makes sense. Like Emma was like this kind of go-getter who got burnt out and fell to sucking dick by the ravine. Sorry, spoiler alert.
It's a great episode.
And one of the big criticisms that people make is that like they don't interact much, which isn't.
No, it's not true. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. The storylines. People think, oh, they need to have a significant storyline. They need to have dated. They knew each other their entire junior high, high school, young adult, like up until they got married. They weren't. They knew he worked at the Dot forever, and a day he worked his way up. The ladder.
So we're going to kind of log those interactions. We're calling them Spema sightings because that's what the group that we're in tends to call that particular shit.
Yeah.
So this is our first Spema sighting, and we get two in the episode. We get one right in the beginning when Manny and Emma are coming into school for the first time, and Jimmy and Spinner stop them, and they're like, "Where's your hall passes? You can't be here without a hall pass." And it's like, you're just really dumb, lazy hazing.
It really was. Like the first two girls that walk in the school that look like they'd fucking stop for you.
And then we get it again towards the end. Spinner spits a spitball at Manny. Manny starts fake crying. And Terry walks by and is like, "Really, Spinner? That's cool." Or something like that. And Emma makes Spinner feel like a piece of shit. And then we find out that Manny's fake crying. So we had that first Spema interaction. And another thing that we're going to keep an eye on, and these are rarer, but Heather Sinclair hypothesis. Heather Sinclair is a student that is referenced regularly. She is never seen. So when we see places where like, hey, maybe this was Heather Sinclair, we're going to point them out. This episode, we've decided that Heather Sinclair was the student walking around filming everybody, interviewing them about the election candidates.
Yeah. Even though that hand
looks kind of boyish.
We've already done it. So I'm just going to move on,
I'm never sure if Heather Sinclair is attractive or not. I feel like a lot of
it goes back and forth
about her appearance and a lot of nice things. So maybe she has boy hands, okay, Avis?
That's why she's an enigma. Fashion spotting. There's a lot of, especially in this season, a lot of OO's fashion. Paige is an icon. We've got a lot of things going on in this first episode. I feel like we had this theory that everyone else was just dressed down because Paige looked so motherfucking fabulous and nobody bothered to just come to school that day dressed for the first day of school.
But it was new year, new look, new Paige.
And her outfit is bomb, and that's an iconic outfit, so I feel like that speaks for itself.
It is bomb, but it's also so ridiculous. Her outfit feels like a joke.
But people are wearing that again, and I actually see it in the wild now, and I'm like... So Ashley loves these hoop earrings though, and Ashley will wear these hoop earrings throughout the first season until she makes her drastic, spoiler alert, fashion switch. She wears the shit out of these hoop earrings, and then Ashley's mom wears these little baby hoops, and I'm like, go off. go off, like in her little outfit, not her outfit, her bob, her hairdo. Her mom was stylish. Like her mom's had a good day at work, was coming home into some bullshit, looking beautiful. And her little messenger bag. I loved Ashley's messenger bag with the little pocket for her phone. Very stylish. Right. I had one, but I didn't have a phone to put into it because I didn't have those luxuries.
Ashley's fashion is actually pretty on point. Give credit where credit is due. This is still an Ashley Kerwin slander podcast. It will always be an Ashley Kerwin slander podcast. And speaking of the slander on this podcast, Emma's outfit is fine, but her hair is atrocious. She's wearing that lazy bun where you just kind of put your hair in a ponytail and then fold it in half. Mm-hmm. And except that she's got this chunk of hair that's like not tucked under and just hanging over. It's weird. It's not, she put no effort into getting dressed for the first day of school. And for that, I slander her.
I think they get better like the last episode, but yeah, this episode, they look kind of a mess. I actually do like Spinner's spiky hair. I think it's kind of a look for him. It's very like baby haircuts. Guido. It's like baby, Italian, like suave. It's cute. I don't think he's not Italian, but it's like that vibe.
Spinner is cute. I don't think he's wearing deodorant. I believe that's established.
Oh no.
The next.
Hygiene.
But he might be wearing Axe body spray. He definitely knows his way around a bottle of gel.
He does. It's a nice look.
It's a nice look. But by and large, other than the iconic new year, new look, new page, hottie outfit.
This is a very lackluster. I will give a shout out to but Toby's had this in the two-parter. His haircut was very in at the time. Devin Siwa, I think, had that haircut in Casper. Yeah. Like it's a look. It's a hot look.
It was like
bad boy, run your fingers through that. Like Leo DiCaprio had that haircut too.
Aunt.
So our final segment is the Degrassi black hole. So essentially Degrassi has a habit of introducing characters and then or characters talk about characters that don't exist later on, they're retcon, or characters are introduced and then they just fall off the face of the earth.
They just disappear. We never
Either or it's all going to fall under that umbrella of black hole. And it happens multiple times, so strap in.
So we'd like to have, just a moment of silence for the first victim of the Degrassi black hole.
Yeah.
Danny Santos's brother.
Very, very Danny sad. Santos. Danny Santos, we hardly knew ye, because he did not exist very long. Thank you.
And with for that, being our first bury victim. Danny Santos and let's bury
this episode
family politics and never talk about it again.
In episode 4, Eye of the Beholder, roses are red. Terry doesn't think she's hot. Without Paige's bullshit, would Jimmy have been shot?
And the plot points in this episode, it's the first night dance as Ashley promised. It's a big deal and the stakes are high. Terry doesn't want to go to the dance because she's having body issues and she does have clear feelings for Spinner. He is pining over her openly, but that's not enough for her to feel like, I'm going to be confident and go to the dance. So that is Terry's struggle in this episode. But Ashley convinces Terry to go to the dance, and Paige weasels her way in somehow to the pre-dance makeover. Throughout this entire episode, Paige's mission is to sabotage Terry because she clearly likes Spinner. Spinner will not give her the time of day. Paige gets Terry drunk and Terry very mildly, she makes an ass of herself. She does numerous things, but overall, honestly, I think she's very classy. Side note. And we are introduced to new kid Sean, who is actually the old kid Sean who was held back from last year. And Jimmy is picking at him every chance he can get about that. So that'll come into play. Emma is totally moody and totally into moody bad boy Sean. And she uses saving him from getting caught fighting Jimmy as an excuse to ask him to dance. And also in this episode, JT and Toby look at porn and get caught by Toby's dad and Ashley's mom, who then make the boys look at porn with them. Yeah.
It's a lot. As we dive deeper into this, the first thing that I want to talk about, and I do want to say full disclosure, this is partially in jest. At the end of the day, Rick is responsible for Rick's actions, and Rick alone is responsible for Rick's actions. Although I would also argue that a lot of adults failed that kid along the way.
Ball was dropped many times.
Ball was dropped many, many times. Mm-hmm. But that being said, bearing in mind that this is a little tongue-in-cheek, spoiler alert, without Paige in this episode, Jimmy doesn't get shot. Paige doesn't sabotage Terry. Terry and Spinner would have dated. Terry and Spinner are dating. She doesn't date Rick. If she doesn't date Rick, Rick never puts her in a coma. Rick doesn't put Terry in a coma. Rick doesn't get tarred and feathered. If Rick doesn't get tarred and feathered, he doesn't shoot Jimmy. So, fuck a Paige Michael Chuck in this episode.
That's pretty sound causation. So I'm going to have to... Unfortunately, because I do love Paige and I really think that she is redeemed in the next season. But she's such a fault at all, but like her character, I mean, she's a real big bitch in this episode. It's just so bad. Like, if I was Terry, I don't know how they carry on as semi good friends, because this is some bullshit what she does to Terry.
Because Terry is kind and a bit naive as a result, and so I don't know that she ever caught on that Paige sabotaged her. Even, you know, she already thinks Jimmy doesn't like her, or Spinner doesn't like her, even though he so clearly does. If she's oblivious enough to miss that.
Yeah, she does. It's some weird that it's, but like, I think that scene in Kwan's class where Spinner's openly staring at her and she sees him staring and smiles back. And it's like, okay, as a viewer, you might be thinking, oh, maybe this will affect how she feels about the dance, or even how she could feel about herself. But I actually like and dislike that they make it like, okay, this is not about validation from someone else. This is how she feels about herself. So even though Spinner's very clearly pining after her, she can't recognize it as affection because she just doesn't think she's worth that affection.
Right.
Like, she doesn't think she's attractive enough. So it makes sense to her, honestly, you know, not to skip ahead, but like, that's why she doesn't fight it when basically Paige backstabs her and starts lending Spinner her notes.
Right. No, Terry,
she's such a fucking good, like, she's so sweet.
As a chubby girl, I definitely I felt the Terry storylines a lot.
The representation isn't there after Terry.
And luckily I never settled for a Rick, but I definitely settled for some real shitty boyfriends for a long time. All because Paige Michael Chuck got me drunk before the first night dance.
I just
okay, I got a lot of gripes with this. So when the episode starts, like, it is clearly established Spinner is so not into Paige.
No, he couldn't give a shit about her wanting to be saved to dance. He doesn't care about her. So that's why I actually I don't know, was something cut or whatever to make that, because like they roll with it, they don't explain themselves, like they're just like, now you know, Paige won Spinner, it's a conquest and he's just a pawn in the game of between, you know, basically he got caught up in Paige's web, and Terry was just a means to an end. And it's just like, okay, but doesn't Spinner have any agency in this shit? Can't Spinner be like, no, I never liked you, and even if I'm not, even if Terry doesn't want to be with me, I don't necessarily want to be with you.
Well, but it's not even he doesn't like Terry anymore, because like I went into this, I was like, I know that this ends him liking Terry. Does she like puke on him or something? Because like if I were a 14-year-old boy, I don't care how much I liked a girl.
She barfed on me.
She puked on me. Like, we're not even dating. We're slow dancing like an arm's length apart for the first time, and she pukes on me. That's gonna ruin that crush.
I mean, friendships have been dissolved for less, you know, obviously partnerships and potential partnerships it doesn't take that much That's, keep your bodily fluids to yourself for a while, except, kissing.
Right. But she doesn't puke on him.
She's very classy.
She does have, I think she freaks him out when she's like, do you believe in love at first sight or whatever? But like,
she does. And she's like, I can't believe I said that. I think you're so cute. I can't believe I said that. Who hasn't had a couple drinks and danced a little bit too much and, maybe needed to use the facility.
So plenty of them probably haven't.
I feel like this is another thing, like it's supposed to be a deterrent for kids. And I feel like as a kid, it probably did, because I mean, the worst thing as a kid is like social embarrassment.
Right.
So she was being judged openly by her peers. So that is the embarrassing part. Not that she didn't physically handle herself, because it would have just been 2 times as worse if she had thrown up. It would have just been like, oh, she's disgusting, and that it would have been that layer on top of it. But they were judging her because of how she was acting, and people started figuring out probably that she was on something or drunk, and she was being judged for it.
It's disappointing. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that Terry is a little bit drunk and then Spinner's like, well, I'm with Paige now, who I all throughout this episode have been like not into. I think you said like the longest word he says to her is whatever.
Yes, it is. He's just trying to follow Terry to fucking class. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about Paige for the whole 18 minutes of the show, of the episode.
It doesn't make sense for Paige to like Spinner. I guess other than the status thing, because he's Jimmy's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Which doesn't really make sense either.
Spinner and Paige never make sense.
I feel like Jimmy and Paige would make sense. I think she has more chemistry with Jimmy than she does with Spinner. I mean, even when they date.
Right.
It doesn't, but who else is there for her to date right now?
I do want to point out, too, shout out to Christina Schmidt, because her acting is really good in this. It's not easy to play drunk.
It's
really not easy to play drunk when you're 14.
And you don't know. Right.
Reference.
Exactly.
And she plays it really well.
It's not too over the top.
When, like, Ashley comes into the dance to check on Terry, and she's like, Ashley, my friend.
Yeah.
And it's very cute. Terry is a fun drunk. I would drink with Terry.
She's
when
cute.
She's over 21.
Right. No underage drinking with minors anyway. That's just weird.
That sounds like a horrible way to spend an afternoon or evening as well. Like,
to switch gears a little bit to the B plot, which is
the
porn, because of course JT doesn't want to go to the dance. He's got this list of free porn sites from his cousin who's really good at the net, and they're all free. Did I say free already? Free.
When you couldn't just like Google like big naked boobs.
I just used to Google boobs.
No, you had to go to URLs still. Yeah, they couldn't tell you how to search for boobs. It
was too much of a map. Like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to draw you a map.
The internet was still a little more like that,
unregulated and
not even just unregulated, but like Google as a search engine at the time was not what Google is now, because there just wasn't that much on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Toby's parents, or Toby's dad and his dad's girlfriend, they're not even married. Come home and catch them, and we find out at the end of the episode that the punishment is that they make them like look at sites with dudes and girls, and like
I just feel like that's not legal. I feel like that's very
it doesn't feel
weird
legal to me,
and I don't know, and I don't know if it teaches them the lesson that you think it did, other than I'm going to be embarrassed about looking at porn for the rest of my motherfucking life, because I'm going to be scarred.
And also,
by
I
this
feel like,
experience.
Okay, so Jeff, who is Toby's father, making Toby sit and look at porn with him is like, it's still weird. Don't like it. Don't think it should happen. Think it maybe is illegal. Should be illegal.
If it's not, right?
That, like, JT is not your kid.
Why do you think you have the right? And if I found that shit out,
right,
as a parent, somebody's getting their ass beat. Because why didn't you contact me? You could have contacted me and I'll make the decision. And I mean, it was kind of disclosed to Emma and Manny, and they just laugh at them and call them losers. And I'm just like, they could have low-key been like telling you there's some shit that happened to them, and you're just thinking, like, you didn't even ask them, like, are you okay? Right. Like, are you? That sounds traumatizing.
To bring it back to Terry.
Yeah.
And her
absolutely.
self-esteem issues. Poor Terry. And Terry's like so pretty, and she's got the best eyebrow game of early Degrassi.
She's got the natural face of, like, you know, the little light dust on her eyelids. Like, it's,
which I will say, like,
so
it
pretty.
does get it does get appreciated later on. But this episode,
it should, because
Terry's
absolutely.
so down on herself. No boy's gonna want to dance with her. She's, you know, makes up this lie about her dad saying she can't go to the dance for chores.
Terry's dad is a good, and he loves her so much, and it's so important to note, because in some of these storylines, the cheap way is to be like, oh, this happens at home, and the body image is reinforced by the outside. No, Terry's dad fucking is just like, you are beautiful, and these boys are lucky to have you, and you know, like, encouraging her to go out, and it has nothing to do with Terry's dad. It is society, and Terry trashes herself harder than anyone else will ever trash her to her face.
But she has this point where, you know, Ashley's trying to get her to go to the dance, and she says, tell me how I can lose 10 pounds in 6 hours and I will.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking. And thinking back to, like, magazines at the time, because, you know, we were reading 17 and Cosmo. I was anyway. Cosmo Girl.
Cosmo. I had a subscription to both.
Girls' Life. Which Boys' Life was like camping and fishing and shit, and Girls' Life was garbage.
It's not promoting a healthy body image. It's always thinking about, okay, you have to fix something. Something is not, you know, right on your body. And when your body is growing every couple months, you know, and developing rapidly, like, you can't, it's just extremely harmful to have that kind of shit shoved at you. And it's like, she's like just reciting the shit that she's obviously read or seen on billboards, or even heard people talking about, because those conversations were had in the open about how fat people were, what somebody was eating, and those comments were not, like, socially unacceptable.
Yeah, it was, the early aughts were a hard time to be a girl child.
No matter what size you were, honestly, it
and
didn't
probably
matter.
A boy child too. I just wasn't one of those.
Right, can attest to that, because,
but you know, I feel
it was
like
not my experience, but it touches on that still, so you get that exposure. A big thing that I loved in this episode was how they introduced Sean Cameron, and he's just like, hops off Tracker's bike. We'll find out his name is Tracker later. His name is Tracker Cameron.
And he's really hot.
He is hot. I will say that. He's got a rugged look about him, but I mean, he's driving a little scooter thing. I feel like it is supposed to be a motorcycle, but it doesn't look like it.
It's like a motorbike.
Like a moped, maybe. He hops off his brother's moped and, you know, ruffles his hair and looks at Degrassi like, oh, we meet again. And it's a very, like, spaghetti Western sort of intro to his character. Yes. And I just love it, because he is going to be framed as just the bad boy. I love his intro into the homeroom with Snake telling him, well, why don't you tell the class a little bit about yourself? No.
And she'll just no.
And Snake just is like, well, that's fine, you know, maybe later. Yeah. And just lets him go sit. Like, Snake's the cool, like the chillest dude ever. But, you know, I think that their relationship, Emma,
and we do see kind of right out the gate, Emma is into Sean.
She likes danger. She does. She's so... At the night dance, like, after Sean grips Jimmy up, just at, like, before Raditch was there, like, in eye view to see the gripping up, you know, right after that, Emma's like, do you want to dance? Like, she's like him, like, you know, white on rice. She's like, I want him. And she's like, it's the beat that she takes between him gripping Jimmy up and asking him to dance is hilarious.
Well, and it's actually, I gotta give credit where credit is due to Emma, and, like, it's crafty. It's good, and it also sets up this whole, like, dynamic of them of, like, you know, because she swoops in and saves him a lot, and it's a lot of him being like, I'm the bad boy rebel without a cause, and I'm just gonna hurt you, doll. And like, and she's like, no, Sean, our love is pure. We can get through anything.
Like, you're 13 years old.
Your
dude.
poverty is my poverty. Like, whatever.
It's definitely like a funny and enduring dynamic between them that like she just uses her womanly pursuits to get him out of brute stuff.
Sean is not my favorite boyfriend that we see Emma with, but I think Emma might be my favorite girlfriend that we see Sean with.
I like him with Ellie, even though he was not good to Ellie at all. I just think they were good until they were shitty.
No, I have my beef with Ellie, and we'll get there when we get there.
We will get there, and I've been dying to talk about Ellie, and I'm so excited because she's such a multifaceted character. But yeah, no, I feel like the Jimmy and Sean beef is hilarious because Jimmy's just asking for this shit the whole episode.
Jimmy has no fucking chill.
He has no tact. He's just like he's so unaware of the fact that maybe somebody doesn't want to fucking talk about the fact that they got left behind a grade, bitch. Maybe I don't want to talk about this shit. Maybe I want to enjoy my day. Maybe I just don't want to talk about that. You keep talking about it.
Oh, another thing, bringing it back to the B plot.
Yeah.
JT and Toby. Toby's dad and Kate leave.
Mm-hmm. And they don't wait long enough.
1 parent away, 2 parent away, 3 parent away, and they race to the computer to look at their porn. And like, dumbasses, you wait long enough for your parents to like drive a block away, realize
forget something,
the tickets or whatever.
Like my mom, and my mom and dad always did that shit. But yeah, that shit was. I feel like that was hilarious to see how long they didn't wait. But also, I want to give a shout out to Spike this episode. Mm-hmm. Because even though she did low-key, she didn't embarrass Emma to the point where like she was just like, don't walk home alone. Right. Even though you do live down the street. However, recent events have proven
Last week you almost got kidnapped by some guy and turned into bad taxidermy in his creepy shack in Yellowknife.
Call me and I will pick you up from this fucking night dance.
Sassy to your mom after you just almost got yourself murdered.
But she's lucky she went to that night dance. Yes, right? Spike parented this episode, and she looked like she wanted to hop out that car.
Our criticism from last week.
She was like, "Okay, I was told off, and I need to correct my actions." Yeah, I feel like was there.
There's not much else other than like the things that we're tracking. So
yeah, our tracks. Let's get into that.
There's a lot of people know, I'm assuming, a thing that Paige does a lot is call people hun.
It's kind of a thing.
And so this episode we see our first 2 huns. The first one is actually from Ashley. She's talking to Terry towards the beginning, but the second one is Paige. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we count the first one, but there is at least one. There is a Paige hun in this episode.
That goes toward my whole thing of them like butting heads for the queen bee spot. It doesn't happen much after. I don't think she ever says hun again.
And then fashion, of course. Yeah. Terry looks adorable for the dance. Terry looks very cute.
Before Paige edited that, it was flawless, very cute, fun, end of summer outfit.
Yeah. Ashley looked really cute. Her hair was cute. Her top was cute.
Her hair, and yes, her top was cute. Her little, again, the hoops, they make an appearance, and her little dog collar studded like choker was also kind of cute because I don't know, there was something about like those choker accessories with like studs and stuff but like with that shirt, it's like a vibe. It's a good.
It worked.
It's a good coordination. I think that Emma's baby buns are better in this episode. They look like more like buns and less like low effort turnovers. Yeah, I guess
Emma steps her game up. She's still very Emma. She's wearing this like tie-dyed shirt with a
heart,
silver heart on it, which actually leads us into our third overall, but our second episode with a Spemma sighting.
The dance.
And Spinner's like, oh, look, it's whatever he calls her. He's like, and she's got a heart on. And so I'm going to put that in the like foreshadowing column because Spinner is sexually harassing his future wife.
I think that you can get away with putting it in that category, and I'm not
It's
gonna
foreshadowing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
not
say
gonna argue with them.
too that actually in the last episode when Emma and Manny do the fake crying thing, Emma strikes me as the kind of wife who's going to manipulate her husband, whoever he is.
That was her MO toward the later season. She's emotionally manipulative, so 100% tracks.
Foreshadowing of the
things
the
to
greatest
come.
love story Degrassi ever told.
Oh my gosh, people hate them so much. Also, wait, to just call back to fashion very quickly. So you got to look for this girl in the background. When Kwan's class is letting out, there's a girl with a British flag tee and like baggy, like Janko-esque pants, but they're cotton. And I'm like Skechers probably, and I'm living for that outfit. That is, I probably woke up at 6 a.m. to get this, to like freshly rolled out of bed vibe.
On Parents' Day, roses are red. Emma's got an opinion to share. Did you know that Liberty's dad knows the fucking mayor?
So the storyline in this one is that it's Parents' Day. Toby's having a lot of anxiety about it because his dad's coming and his mom's coming. He mostly lives with his dad. His parents suck at co-parenting. They fight a whole lot. He tries to forge a note from Simpson saying that they don't have to come because Toby's the best student in the history of education. Obviously, his parents don't buy it. They come to Parents' Day. They start arguing in front of Simpson because Toby like skipped class one time and turned in some assignments late. And whose fault is this? You know, that whole thing. Toby's mom is like threatening to fight for full custody. And finally, Toby's like, you guys need to grow the fuck up or at least leave me out of this shit. They promise to do better. Simpson ends up like being proud of Toby, but he also knows about the forgery and he punishes Toby. Emma is on the warpath this episode about News About Kids, which is this like video that plays once a week or so instead of the video announcements with Ashley. It's largely advertising, and also, to be fair, it does seem offensive. Like the episode that we see is about squeegee kids, which are presumably like children who live on the street and are making money by squeegeeing people's windshields. And it like compares them to cockroaches, and Emma's got feelings about it. She goes to Mr. Radich and he's like, you know, I get where you're coming from, but these videos paid for all of the new computers in the media immersion lab. That helps poor kids like your boyfriend, Sean Cameron. He doesn't say that, but you know, subtext. But he's like, look, you can write an opinion piece for the Grapevine. So she does, and Sean's hot older brother, Tracker, thinks that her opinion is dumb, and he tells her so. Emma sticks to her guns, and I know this is an Emma Nelson slander podcast, but like, she's actually pretty admirable in this. She's like, she is a child, and this grown-ass adult is telling her that she's dumb and her article is garbage, and she's like, no, you're wrong, and here's why. I would have been shaken like a leaf. Sean is impressed because this is why Sean falls for Emma. We see this time and again. Also going on is that both Paige and Ashley want to impress Toby's mom. She's a talent agent. She's not impressed by them because Paige is trying too hard and Ashley is Ashley. But she does give her card to Terry, who isn't even trying to impress her, but of course does just by existing because Terry is perfection.
She really is. And I feel like more happens in this last episode than I thought because of Emma. But like, I will agree with that just off the top. Kudos to Emma. Credit where credit is due. You know, she stuck to her guns. She had a conviction. That was very biased media. You have to call out your biased media. You can't let that shit fester. Can't let people get complacent about being spoon-fed bullshit and then advertised too.
And kudos to her for like sticking up to Tracker. I love there's that part where like, so Tracker's talking to Sean and he's like, what a piece of garbage. Who wrote this? And Emma pipes up and she's like, I did.
Yeah, and it's not and garbage.
He kind of goes to like a save face a little and he's looking at Spike. And Emma goes, and I love Emma in this moment. She goes, don't look at her, look at me.
Yeah.
And like, yes, this is like, season 1 is kind of where Emma still really had a chance to shine. And then they made her the worst.
They did. I feel like they thought that, you know, it's often that people don't know, especially people who are maybe producing things or like writing the content. They don't necessarily always know what people like about it. So they maybe thought that, oh, that is what we liked about Emma, is her being all social justice-y. But no, she doesn't need to be a mini Caitlyn. She can look up to Caitlyn. But what was nice about her was her conviction, and that she didn't let people shit all over her. If maybe her thinking that she's right above all else and, you know, is slightly flawed, but she does have a very strong argument. And she doesn't, and she refuses to let a grown man tell her what, you know, what is right and what is wrong, which is something that she does carry through to her adulthood. But, you know, she's cause girl for a while. Like they, you know, she's not necessary. And that's like,
but I do like too, you know, there's a bit of humbling for Emma. Like she does see like, this isn't just this big black and white thing, because, you know,
it's a multifaceted issue, bitch.
Yeah, and you know, I just wish that she carried that with her further than this episode.
Thank you. Because she does, I mean, she has a revelation moment. Yes. Oh, I see a chat from producer Dylan. Who the fuck is Spike where the fuck is Spike in this whole interaction? We just literally just applauded her. We just gave her like a gold star last episode, and now we gotta kind of cut it in half. You get like a half, like a, like you're on a yellow light instead of a green light.
But
it is teen mom shit. It is.
Okay.
She is like that whole friendship with your kid dynamic shoots her in the foot because they grew up together. They raised each other. So it's definitely like Emma is taller than her. Emma's got like, you know, she has that voice on her that even though it's kind of squeaky, she asserts it. And I don't like Spike has always, that's like, I do kind of think that is reverence for her character, how it always was. She's always been soft-spoken, sweet Spike. So, I mean, it would come to pass that she would have a fucking daughter like Emma, who just is a big-ass loudmouth.
Somebody needed to be a big-ass loudmouth because it is not crazy
Spike.
Kids trying to make it on their own in this world.
Surely enough. And yeah, two people, it couldn't have been two of, you know, the same. She needed that foil. Yeah, definitely. Spike is missing in action. She's there, but nobody's home for most of that. It just her blank like face, like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like, just very much like, I'm not equipped to deal with this, you know. But she's trying.
She is trying.
She's chugging along. Better.
She won't let Emma walk home alone anymore. It's a start.
It is a very needed start. She needs some goddamn boundaries.
Sean and Emma have that cute little moment at the end on the IM.
I love that scene because, again, it demonstrates that Emma's a little prideful, and she's not gonna, even though she's right the fuck there, but it also is like, it's hard to say you know, and apologize to somebody or talk to somebody about some hard shit. So that's relatable.
It feels very age appropriate and very relatable, and like,
absolutely,
and it's cute, and like, I don't think that Sean and Emma should have been endgame. I know a lot of people do. And
people feel cheated when they don't get high school sweethearts,
but I feel like I like Sean and Emma's relationship for what it is.
They were good for each other for the time
for
that they
first love.
They did, yes. It was a sweet, like a comfort spot, but I don't think that they necessarily needed to, like, it was a seasonal relationship. It wasn't a lifetime relationship.
They had done all the growing that they were going to do together.
Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I just think they should have given her someone in between, that, like, instead of having her be so like hung up on Sean, like, she's always in love with Sean and been like puppy dog over Sean. And I think that's a lot of why people just love them together, because she just melts for him and everything. But that doesn't mean that you guys should be together forever. That's not what that means.
I definitely, like, the last time that I did a rewatch, early on, the episode where Emma gets her first period, like, has that whole moment, which we'll go into.
I love that.
But the look on Sean's face,
he admires her,
is like beautiful, and it's like, yeah, you want these crazy kids to make it, but also, I don't know, you want
she's a
to
force
make it for as long as they're going to before they start destroying each other, which is where they're at by the time they break up. Anyway, we're not going to go too deep into that.
No, but I think it's relevant because, like, he's like, he treats her like a force. He definitely treats her like he sees her and he admires her for who she is. He definitely, like, the complimenting her of like, you know, I didn't think it was garbage. Like, I actually really did, you know, like, he is not just in it because he thinks she's attractive. He probably thinks, you know, he thinks she's attractive, but like, he likes her brain, which I really think is cute about them. But I think he knew her in a time when she was growing up into who she, you know, wanted to be, but she changes a lot when she goes to school.
Yeah.
They outgrow each other. So
they outgrow each other, and that's fine.
And that's 100% fine. But Tracker Cameron's back.
Tracker Cameron is back, and he is looking fine.
I think producer Dylan was cringing when we were like giving him, like, we were saying that he was fine.
Now that I'm an adult, I have like the weirdest Degrassi crushes. Like, I think that Tracker is hot. Mr. Simpson can get it. Is he hot? I mean, no, but he is in that like goofy dad way. Archie can get it.
Yeah, he does have dad. He has dad vibes. He does.
Manny's dad can call me a loose girl anytime.
Oh my god! Is it the accent? First of all, Caroline, controversial take, and
he's
I really
like a little bald, short king. I don't know.
I was gonna say I needed explanation, but you gave one, and I still am no closer to grasping where you're coming from with this one.
I can't explain it. I can't justify it.
No. Why you want big boobs, huh? You want to be a loose girl?
God, maybe
that is a
kink. Need to get a therapist.
That's a valid. Some people have shame kinks. That's fine.
What it probably is to a degree is that like Degrassi brings me back into a younger mindset, and I definitely was like more attracted to toxicity. Like when I was watching Degrassi when it was like age appropriate, I was a Sean girl, but way more than that. I was a Craig girl.
I was gonna say, like, expose your toxicity. Right. And like, if you love Craig.
I think I come back to Degrassi and I'm like, you know, I have this like husband who like, when my husband leaves for work and I'm still asleep, he puts my coffee in my insulated travel mug. He puts an oven mitt, like the glove kind, over the travel mug. Then he wraps it into pot holders and then wraps all of that in a towel so that no matter when I wake up, my coffee is still going to be as warm as possible.
That's cute.
But man, up until this man, I was all about the toxic men. And so I think that's it. I go back to Degrassi and I'm like, yeah, Tracker.
Wonder where that came.
Child. Yeah, Mr. Santa.
Hot take.
So we do have 2 more Huns this episode. They are both delivered by Paige. All is now right with the world. They gave Ashley that 1 Hun and they gave Paige a Hun. And they were like, nope.
They're decided.
This is a Paige thing. I don't remember the context. I'm sure it was condescending.
I don't remember. Yeah, you've been doing these Hun counts and you're a real one for it. My thing is that there's also a whole other thing with Toby happening, which, like, Toby completely owns this storyline by basically telling his parents that they're shitty for using him against each other, which it had to be said because they're like the cringiest fucking parents ever gathered into Mr. Simpson's classroom. But literally, I love how he's like, video games, they're ruining our generation, and like deflect uncomfortable vibes with humor. Like,
Kate Goldsby has like great comedic timing in it. I totally forgot. Okay, this is an iconic Liberty line as they're leaving class after the news about kids. Liberty pops over to Emma and Manny, and she's like, my father says if one of those ragamuffins comes near his car again, he's going to talk to the mayor. He knows the mayor.
Like,
it's so early Liberty, but also, bitch, what the fuck is the mayor gonna do?
About some kids.
About squeegee kids. And it's not about squeegee kids in general. It's about squeegee kids in particular bothering your dad. The mayor probably doesn't even like your dad. Let's be honest. Your dad's kind of a dick. Ooh, do I think Liberty's dad is hot?
Liberty's dad is just too much. Like, I don't like an authoritarian. But I actually have this note that I want to know Sean's sun sign, because like I have like Like, he's just giving Gemini vibes. Like, he's just all over the fucking place. Like, he's hot and he's cold. He's yes and he's no. I'm not going to keep singing the Katy Perry lyrics.
It's black and it's white.
Okay, so I only really know May Geminis, and they are some chaotic ass personable motherfuckers. So I would probably give him more June, because I think that there's an antisocial element that Sean has that May Geminis do not. Because like my dad is a May Gemini and he just makes fucking friends wherever he goes, and I'm just like, that is so not. And pretty much every Gemini I know in May is that way. They're like friendly, just your kind of person until they're like a bitch. Or
Sean always makes me think of and like, all issues with Harry Potter and JK aside, a million years ago when YouTube was brand new, there was an account that made these videos called Potter Puppet Pals.
I knew you were gonna say that.
One where
I was obsessed with those.
Angst, and it's just basically Harry, this puppet of Harry Potter, banging his head against shit, being like, angst, angst, angst. And that's what I like. I think a lot of the time when Sean Cameron is on scene, it's great. I'm just like, angst, angst, angst.
Oh, that's perfect, because that's really like, that's all he is. He's just a ball of angst for like.
He is.
For a while.
He's been through some shit.
He has.
His parents suck.
Mm-hmm. Which we will get to know. There's like that. His whole. I mean, Sean has his day to really be developed, and I like his storyline, and I think he's one of the characters that his exit actually makes sense. Even though I was really sad about it, I think they didn't just like say, oh, the actor's leaving for a season or two. They actually wrote his storyline very well. So he's one of those characters like Craig, I think was written very well. So I will give him, I'll give that, like, he's got an arc, man, and he rides that motherfucking wave. So this is the beginning of like knowing, I mean, not only Sean and Emma's dynamic, but just also like Tracker and Sean, and like how they're obviously,
they, much like Emma and Spike, are just two crazy kids trying to make it in this crazy world.
Absolutely. He's like, I was just kind of, my brothers just kind of showed up, but shoved in my lap, basically.
Right,
and
like Tracker's kind of
so he can go to this school.
But he's also kind of insightful sometimes. And
I like the conversation, even though it's aggressive that he had with Emma. It's valid too. Like, how is he going to do it? Like, now with this technology being a big thing in school, how is he going to not fall behind in school without a computer? We don't have a computer. And, Emma, he gives Emma some perspective, which I think, even as much as Sean admires her, he doesn't stand up to her very well. So one camera's got to motherfucking do it. Somebody's got to stand up to her. And I mean, it's not to
Tracker
be mean to
Emma.
Her, but
Tracker is the Emma and Sean is the Spike.
Exactly, because their faces are the same. They're both like, like, what's going on? Like, we'll just see how this unfurls, because we're not really going to be players in this. Like, we're just going to let these two loud people talk.
We, of course, have to talk fashion again. And once again, the main conversation is going to be Paige.
Oh, that phone.
Wears to volunteer. The whole thing.
Clipped to her damn hip.
A gold crop top. Mm-hmm. She's got like a glittery fake tattoo.
I was gonna say she got a damn fake tribal tattoo
around her belly button. It's so. She's trying so hard.
It's a look.
There's a picture to Toby's mom.
That Polaroid. She's like, something to remember me by. It is.
Ashley's
and those strands, I love strands. They're just like, I feel like her hair must have just kind of naturally did, because it's always those very specific two little pieces of hair.
I used to rock that a lot in like
my
mid-20s.
It was a look. Like, it was the exact same two little pieces of her damn hairline. Yes. I'm like, that is just her say, like, Ashley tries to like style her hair like that, but I guess because it's so thick, she just does other things with it.
She just rolls it for volume.
It's controversial because the actress literally never lets it be natural, so we don't know what it looks like. Like, I literally think that the closest to her natural hair is probably in this season, because she starts doing some, like, it gets a lot flatter looking in the later seasons. So she's sizzling the shit out of that hair, but it still looks good. It's thick and glossy still. So it's beautiful. But I think that I have to shout out Paige for her dog tag also, the sparkly pink dog tag. I love, like, I used to steal my dad's dog tag, his actual military dog tags, and he used to like come for my life because he's like, you can't wear my dog tags like they're like they're an accessory. These are important.
We do also have another black hole victim again so soon.
Yes.
JT's parents.
Yeah, JT had parents.
JT had parents, but then we never really hear about them again, and then he's just like been raised by his grandma
all along, which is just a complete like, I mean, they just completely 160 on that. They just chucking off immediate family members. First couple episodes. So. Yeah, we're switch gears to like our segment, wrapping up the last the 3-pack. It's gonna be us just awarding our shining stars, which is just the people who get the gold star, the characters who really, they did the damn thing, they carried the plot, or they did something admirable, etc. We'll make the criteria as we go along, but they're awesome in one way or another. And then the super bummers are, you dropped the ball. This episode sucks significantly, maybe not because of you, but you contributed to it, so we're gonna call you out about it. And so I guess for family politics, how are you, who are you feeling for the shining stars to go back to fucking motherfucking family politics?
Honestly, there is no shining star in family politics, so I'm gonna give it to
Manny. The stakes were low.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it to Manny because Manny is there, and
that is always deserving of recognition. This is a Manny Santos Stan podcast.
This is a Manny Santos Stan podcast.
So Terry. I'll give it to Terry because Terry's like that calm voice of reason, just like trying to make light of the situation to Ashley, and she's not motherfucking having it. So
yeah, no, Terry.
She deserves She deserves a gold star for putting up with the constant bitching in this episode.
What about your super bummers?
I feel like for reasons of sabotage of each other, that like Ashley and Toby are kind of the super bummers, because like they just go out of their ways to be like little shits to each other, and like you can just both take the L, even though they make up at the end. I'm happy for them, but they kind of have to because they're like fucking stuck with each other right now.
Also, honorable mention to Miss Kwan for calling Spinner out like that in the first episode.
Yeah, that shit was rude. So yeah, she could go on there too. She can go on there too. Absolutely.
It was unnecessary.
So Eye of the Beholder.
Eye of the Beholder, I think, my shining stars in that are going to be Terry's dad.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes, me too.
And I'm going to give it to Ashley too, because Ashley was actually a pretty
She was a solid friend. The only thing she didn't do was like make sure that Paige was not left the fuck alone, but she didn't think Paige was going to be that much of a bitch. Right. So that's not her fault.
And then I would also say Emma kind of shines this episode. Mm-hmm. Her little bad boy crush, the way that she swoops in and saves Sean and uses it to her advantage.
Absolutely devious in the best way.
And then my super bummers are Paige, obviously. And also Ashley's mom and Toby's dad, who are grooming Toby and JT, and it's weird.
I actually will go. I feel like your shining stars and super bummers for Eye of the Beholder are pretty much on par with mine. I think that I don't really, I mean, that shit was skeevy, so they deserve to be on the list. Yeah, that's good for me. And then, I don't really have an addition. And maybe Jimmy. Jimmy a little bit. He sucked. Like you can only be oblivious for so long, Jimmy. Like, stop being a dick. Like, let that man live and go to school every day without your
you're right. Jimmy is definitely
hanging on. Yeah, like, he's just bummed me out. So that's why he is a super bummer. Like, I was super bummed out by you every scene you were in, Jimmy, this episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then where are you at for Parents' Day?
So I'm going to go the opposite way and go negative first. I'm going to give super bummers to Toby's parents because they both fucking suck.
Yeah.
And even though they learned a valuable lesson, they still fucking suck and they need to go think about how to immediately change their actions and behavior.
Honorable mention to Paige Michael Chuck.
Oh yeah,
this is a season 1 Paige Michael Chuck slander podcast.
I think that's a perfect, because
she
it's
grows,
like
we love her.
I'm a season 2 to pre Degrassi Goes Hollywood Paige stan. Everything before these and after, I am not acknowledging as canon. So yeah.
And then so who are your shining stars for?
I feel like my shining stars are Toby and Snake. I really love that Snake just congratulated him, or acknowledged him and gave him encouragement about speaking up for himself, because I think that that's so important. Like, his mom did say, we heard you loud and clear, but I think as an authority figure to say I'm proud of you for, what I'm proud of you for is really important. And Toby standing up for himself as a kid to his parents, even if you're fed up with something, is not easy to do, and articulate yourself in a way that like actually makes them take you seriously was amazing. So I love him for that. And he's absolutely a shining star for that. And I'm gonna actually throw Tracker in there because he checked Miss Emma Nelson, and I think that they both checked each other, even though maybe she didn't check him as much, but I actually appreciate their dynamic. And I think that,
so are you throwing Emma into them?
I guess I'll throw, this will probably be one of the only times that shit happens, because fucking Emma, but she had a good point. She was outraged for the greater good, and yes, I will throw Emma in there. She was outraged by what her classmates were being exposed to. It was not a selfish pursuit. It was humanitarian. So yeah, there we go. She will be on there for me.
I think again I'm gonna agree with you on those. Yeah, Toby's parents are super bummers. Paige is a super bummer. Definitely Toby and Snake are the like shining stars. But Tracker and Emma can get a little honorable mention in there.
Yeah, let's do the honorable mention, because it's like they added some character growth. They gave each other.
You know what?
Nice.
He's not a shining star. He's never going to be a shining star. He never will have an opportunity. So I am going to say, shout out to Mr. Radich. He handled this situation well.
He actually turned her outrage into something productive. Look at that.
He listened to her. He gave her a platform to make her voice heard. All for it. And so now all that's really left is to ask the question of these 3 episodes: does it go there?
Yeah, just a quick yes or no, but I think we already know for the first one. Family politics, I don't think it goes there.
I think it goes there. I just think there is like down the block.
I was gonna say there is not there that
it's
we
not
were going.
Far, but like again, real problem. We've got conflict.
You said there's down the block.
Resolution. Yeah, it goes there. It's just that there is not very far.
The tension was not. It was 0 in this episode. So I guess for me, when I think of, does it go toward tension? No. Does it go toward conflict? Yeah, of course there's conflict in this episode.
It's very low stakes. Like I said, it walks like down to the corner. That's it.
Yeah. So I have the beholder. I think tension is approached, because for me it's, I start getting clenchy when Paige is plying poor Terry with Sherry.
Well, you've got a lot going on there. You've got Terry and her self-esteem issues. You've got just the overall awkwardness of kids at the age. You've got the diabolical nature of like how girls at that age can interact.
Yeah, it's like that girl world.
Yeah, no, I think that one goes there. you know.
I think it's one of those, because you're also like disgusted at that sort of behavior towards someone that's in your inner circle by Paige. It's like,
yeah,
you are really cutthroat. You're really, and you know, there's a lot of different emotions that as a viewer I felt like I was going through. So for me, it's one of the highlights of the 3-pack.
It doesn't go all the way to Yellowknife, but it goes there.
It surely does. Okay, let's do that. Does it go there? As in, does it go all the way to Yellowknife?
I mean, Mother and Child Reunion doesn't even go all the way to Yellowknife.
But it's in the driveway of Yellowknife.
Yeah, it's on the
just
road to Yellowknife.
we're idling, maybe like, or at least we haven't taken the exit yet, but the exit is like less than a quarter mile away.
We stopped for pizza. Anyway, so it goes there. It doesn't go super there, but it goes there.
Not all the way to Yellowknife. Parents' Day. This goes toward emotion. This one's emotional, and I was revved up by the discourse. I think that the whole plot with the agent thing kind of makes it more like a teen comedy again, with just like that level of like kookiness and drama.
And it takes away from, because it is a strong storyline for Toby.
Right. Toby's kind of going through it. And then we kind of just are. I mean, there's still other things happening,
I would say it's really trying to go there, but Paige keeps like making them stop the car.
Because it's new year, new look, new Paige.
Did your middle school allow belly shirts? Because mine sure as fuck did not.
Absolutely not. They didn't even allow spaghetti straps.
No, they had to be lasagna straps, is what they called them.
Mm-hmm. None of what anyone wore, none of what Paige wore at all this season would have been allowed at any school, except for college that I've attended.
Canada,
potentially.
Thanks for listening to Your Mom's Podcast. Next week, we'll be dissecting The Mating Game with Canadian icon Sue Johansson, Basketball Diaries featuring low-stakes drug use, and Secrets and Lies, in which JT is a dick and pretty homophobic.
This episode of Your Mom's Podcast was made possible in part by low self-esteem, squeegee kids, and support from listeners like you. If you'd like to further support our show, you can follow our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at YMPadcast and TikTok at Your Mom's Padcast. You can also visit our website at www.padcast.com. Your Mom's Padcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you feel so inclined, subscriptions and reviews are another great way to support the show. And if you'd like to support us financially, you can subscribe to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/YourMomsPadcast. And remember, that's Padcast. PAHDCAST. Thank you.